Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to SFF180. It is Monday morning, February the 20th. I hope you guys have had a great week and a great weekend. It is time for another mailbag, and it is a seriously good mailbag this week. Massive amount of boxes. I've kind of been absent from the channel for a couple of weeks, sorry, but I've been doing quite a lot of work behind the scenes, reading ahead. I have written and recorded now 3 videos for March already. I'm in the midst of a buddy read with a couple of other booktuber friends of mine, and I will be posting the results of that very soon, and a bunch of reviews this week coming up. Yeah, I'll see you back here again on the channel tomorrow for those, the start of those. But anyway, yeah, lots of stuff in the mail, leaning very heavily towards Tor titles. So I don't really have any announcements going on right now. Oh, except to say that I believe, gosh, when is it April? Yes, it's April. I'm going to be going to the Ghoulish Books Horror Festival in San Antonio. I'll have more deets about that fairly soon, but that's really all I have in the way of imminent plans, imminent announcements. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the books. So, I mentioned that I had a whole lot of Tor stuff this week, but I'm going to go ahead and start out with the non-Tor items. And this is one from Gallery, meaning that it is most likely a saga title. Oh boy, this is this is a great start to the mailbag. These are Bound Galleys from Saga Press for The Reformatory. This is the new horror novel by the horror icon legend Tenerife Dew. This one is coming out all the way in the future on Halloween Day. It's coming out October the 31st of this year, so I will certainly have a review ready by then, trust me. But this one says it is a suspenseful, soul-stirring novel. It follows Robert Stevens Jr., who's sent away to a notorious segregated reform school in Jim Crow, Florida. In this chamber of terrors, Dew explores the horrors of racism and injustice for the living and the dead. The Reformatory is inspired by Dew's great-uncle's incarceration in the infamous Dozier School for Boys in the Florida Panhandle, where he went missing and likely was killed. Oh my God. An intimate family story filled with ghosts, hatred, and hope. Dew's latest triumph transcends the boundaries of horror and literary fiction. Let's see. Wow. Okay, there's anyway, Gracetown, Florida. It takes place in summer 1950. Robert Stevens Jr. is sent to Gracetown School for Boys for the inconceivable sin of kicking a white boy who made advances towards his sister. But this isn't just any reform school. As Robert finds, it's a segregated school haunted by the dozens of boys who have died there. Right on. Okay, well, wow. All right, Reformatory coming out Halloween Day this year from Saga Press by Tenerife Dew. And this next one says it is from HarperCollins. And HarperCollins, the workers for HarperCollins have finally, with their union, reached an agreement with the publisher. They've been striking for a while, so that's all good news. Alrighty then, well here we are with The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi. This is the new book by Shannon Chakraborty, the author of the Devabad trilogy. And when she wrote the Devabad trilogy, she went as S.A. Chakraborty, but now she's just going as Shannon. Shannon Chakraborty is now her byline. It says, this is a new trilogy of magic and mayhem on the high seas. In this tale of pirates and sorcerers, forbidden artifacts, and ancient mysteries. In one woman's determined quest to seize a final chance at glory and write her own legend. Amina al-Sirafi should be content after a storied and scandalous career as one of the Indian Ocean's most notorious pirates. She survived backstabbing rogues, vengeful merchant princes, several husbands, that's a tough one, and one actual demon to retire peacefully with her family to a life of piety, motherhood, and absolutely nothing that hints of the supernatural. But there's always a but. When she's tracked down by the obscenely wealthy mother of a former crewman, she's offered a job no bandit could refuse. Retrieve her comrade's kidnapped daughter for a kingly sum. The chance to have one last adventure with her crew, do right by an old friend, and win a fortune that will secure her family's future forever? It seems like such an obvious choice that it must be God's will. But as we know, I'm going to stop reading right there. Of course, complications and adventure will arise from this, right? So, The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi from Shannon Chakraborty, Harper Voyager, on the 28th of February. So, next week. Okay, so I can't exactly tell who this one's from, so mystery package. And this one's in from Orbit. It is a physical arc for the Combat Codes by Alexander Darwin. This comes out on June the 13th. Orbit, they seem to be really jumping on the self-published authors. You know, picking a lot of these guys up. You know, Josiah Bancroft is another one of them. You know, if you're a self-published fantasy author who makes kind of a splash, Justin Lee Anderson. With, I think, The Lost War. That's also coming out from Orbit soon. So let's see what this is all about, shall we? I don't usually request physical arcs anymore. They have a way of piling up, but it's nice to get them on occasion. It says, the first book in a debut action-packed and character-driven science fiction trilogy, set in a far future world where the fate of nations is determined by battle-hardened warriors who are trained to compete in brutal single combat. Hundreds of years ago, on a planet once ravaged by war, the nations swore an armistice, agreeing never to use weapons of mass destruction again. Today, battle-hardened warriors known as Griever Knights train to represent their nation's interests in brutal hand-to-hand combat. Murray Pearson was once a famed knight until he suffered a loss that devastated his nation. But now he's on the hunt to find and train the next champion. Below, in the underground's brutal combat rings, an orphaned boy called Seago is making a name for himself. Murray believes Seago has what it takes to make it in the planet's most prestigious combat school, but he has to fight his way out of the underground first. Okay then, so The Combat Codes by Alexander Darwin, coming from Orbit on June the 13th. Lightning Source. Who the heck are Lightning Source? Can't possibly be a publisher. It must be like a... Who knows? Well, we'll see. Oh, all right. I heard from the author about this one. This is a small press title from Nephilim Publishing. Apparently, this is a book called The Babel Apocalypse. The author is Vivian Evans. And I'm sorry I still haven't emailed the author back, but I guess I've gotten the book anyway. It appears to be a space opera, so let's see what it's all about. It says, language is no longer learned, but streamed to neural implants regulated by lang laws. Those who can't afford language streaming services are feral, living on the fringes of society. Big tech corporations control language, the world's most valuable commodity. This already kind of sounds a little bit Cory Doctorow, doesn't it? But when a massive cyber attack causes a global language outage, catastrophe looms. Okay, I like the premise. Europol detective Emir Morgan is assigned to the case. His prime suspect is Professor Ebba Black, the last native speaker of language in the automated world, and leader of the Babel cyber terrorist organization. But Emir, I think it's Emir, there we are, soon learns that in a world of corporate power, where those who control language control everything, all is not as it seems. As he and Ebba collide, Emir faces an existential dilemma between loyalty and betrayal, when everything he once believed is called into question. To prevent the imminent collapse of civilization and a global war between the great federations, he must figure out friend from foe. His life depends on it, and with the odds stacked against him, he must find a way to stop the Babel apocalypse. Okay. I think we're going to start seeing more and more of these stories about big tech taking over things that just used to be normal, and then suddenly they're not around anymore, right? So anyway, The Babel Apocalypse by Vivian Evans, and I guess this is available now-ish as a small press title from Nephilim Publishing. Can't see the name on this envelope either. Speak of the devil. Okay. As I just mentioned, this is another physical arc from Orbit Books, and this is The Lost War by Justin Lee Anderson. Another self-published title that made a big splash, and now Orbit has picked it up, and they will be finishing out the trilogy, as I understand. So this one comes out May the 16th. And it says, Justin Lee Anderson's sensational epic fantasy debut follows an emissary for the king as he gathers a group of strangers and embarks on a dangerous quest across a war-torn land. The war is over, but the beginnings of peace are delicate. Demons continue to burn farmlands, violent mercenaries roam the wilds, and a plague is spreading. The country of Iden is on its knees. In a society that fears and shuns him, Aronach is the first mage to be named King's Envoy, and his latest task is to restore an exiled foreign queen to her throne. The band of allies he assembles each have their own unique skills, but they are strangers to each other, and at every step across the ravaged land, a new threat emerges. Lies are revealed, and distrust threatens to destroy everything they are working for. Somehow, Aronach must bring his companions together and uncover the conspiracy that threatens the kingdom before war returns to the realms again. Okay, so this very much sounds like it is in a traditional mode of epic fantasy. Lots of familiar tropes putting in an appearance, but as I always say, it's not the tropes, it's how they're used. So this could be a very fast-paced and enjoyable book for people who like this kind of thing. But The Lost War by Justin Lee Anderson, out from Orbit on May the 16th. And the next two packages are from Orbit, and they are clearly marked Hatchet Book Group, so I don't have to guess. Okay, very happy to have this one in a finished copy. This is The Tyranny of Faith, of course, by Richard Swan. It's the second book in the Empire of the Wolf trilogy. The first book, The Justice of Kings, got very high praise. I have these two as catch-up reads on my queue, so you should see my reviews of them coming up very soon. But let's see, can I reveal anything that won't be super-duper spoilery? Probably not. It just says, Sir Conrad von Volt is an emperor's justice, a detective, judge, and executioner all in one. But these are turbulent times, and a justice's work is never done. That gives you a basic flavor of the whole thing. But The Tyranny of Faith from Orbit, it is out now in hardcover. This one feels like it has two books in it. It did, and these are two finished copy trade paperbacks from Hachette. The first one is on the Red Hook imprint, and it is The Magician's Daughter. This is the new book by H.G. Parry. So let me just give you a quick rundown of what it's all about, shall we? Let's see. It says a young woman is caught between two worlds in H.G. Parry's spellbinding tale of miracles, magic, and an island that might have been. Off the coast of Ireland sits a legendary island hidden by magic. A place of ruins and ancient trees, sea salt air, and fairy lore, High Brazil is the only home Biddy has ever known. Washed up on its shore as a baby, Biddy lives a quiet life with her guardian, the mercurial... There it is, Thomas. What's wrong? I'm having a hard time just enunciating some words clearly today. I don't get what it is. Anyway, he's mercurial, and he's a magician named Rowan. A life she finds increasingly stifling. One night, Rowan fails to return from his mysterious travels, and to find him, Biddy must venture into the outside world for the first time. But Rowan has powerful enemies, forces who have hoarded the world's magic and have set their sights on the magician's many secrets. Biddy may be the key to stopping them, yet the closer she gets to answers, the more she questions everything she's ever believed about Rowan, her past, and the nature of magic herself. So it is The Magician's Daughter by H.G. Parry from the Red Hook imprint. And also in that package, we have Emperor of Ruin by Django Wexler. This is the third and final book in his trilogy, Burning Blade and Silver Eye. Started out with Ashes of the Sun and Blood of the Chosen, so of course I have them all. And so, yeah, I guess it's time to figure out a way to slip them into the queue. So again, because it is the final book in a trilogy, I can't really say too much to avoid spoilers, but let's see what I can say. It just says, the final book of Django Wexler's brilliantly imagined epic fantasy trilogy follows two siblings divided by magic and revolution. So you can go back and, I guess, go online and read up Ashes of the Sun and look at its synopsis and see what it's all about. But Emperor of Ruin is now out by Django Wexler from Orbit. Okay, so now we're going to get into the Tor haul to wrap up this week's mailbag, and a lot of these books have come to me in these chunky boxes like this, so let's see what we have, shall we? And we are starting out with Hopeland by Ian McDonald, author of the Luna trilogy, as well as a great many other fantastic science fiction novels like The Dervish House and River of Gods, and a whole ton of others going way back. Anyway, let's see. Does this have a sell sheet? It does not. Okay. It says, as London burns, love falls from the summer sky. When Raisa Hopeland, determined to win her race to become the next electromancer of London, bumps into Amon Brightborn, tweed-suited, otherworldly, and guided by grace. or the Grace, actually. In the middle of a London riot, she sets in motion a series of events that will reshape the fabric of time and space itself. From rioting London to geothermal Iceland to the climate-struck islands of Polynesia, from birth to life to death, from tranquility to terror to joy, Raissa's journey will encompass the world, but one thing will always be true. Hopeland is family, and family can be dangerous. This sprawling, picaresque, magical, marvelous novel, part love story, part family saga, part futuristic thriller, drives straight into the heart of the flaws and promises of the most astonishing of centuries and beyond. Wow, okay, this sounds very, very ambitious. And so, yeah, can't wait to dig into this. But Hopeland by Ian McDonald from Tor Books. And next we have Wild Massive, finished copy and hardcover here. This is by Scott O'Moore, who wrote Battle of the Linguist Mages. And let's see, this I wasn't expecting this one to be this chunky. This one's nearly like 500 pages. So let's see. It says, Scott O'Moore's Wild Massive is a glorious web of lies, secrets, and humor in a breakneck, nitrous-boosted saga of the small rejecting the will of the mighty. Welcome to The Building, an infinitely tall skyscraper in the center of the multiverse, where any floor could contain a sprawling desert oasis, a cyanide rainforest, or an entire world. Carissa loves her elevator. Up and down she goes, content with the sometimes chewy food her reality fabricator spits out, as long as it means she doesn't have to speak to another living person. But I like non-neurotypical protagonists. That's always fun. But when a mysterious shapeshifter from an ambiguous world lands on top of her elevator, intent on stopping a plot to annihilate hundreds of floors, Carissa finds herself stepping out of her comfort zone. She is forced to flee into the wild, massive network of theme parks in the building, where technology, sorcery, and elaborate media tie-ins combine to form impossible ride experiences, where every guest is a VIP, the roller coasters are frequently safe, and if you don't have a valid day pass, the automated defense lasers will escort you from being alive. And that's what it says. So, well, this sounds like a romp and a half, doesn't it? A Wild Massive by Scott O'Moore, again, from Tor.com Publishing. It does indeed sound very wild and very massive. Okay, now we're getting into some thinner books. This one is one that I've really been looking forward to reading. I mean, I've had it as an e-arc, but, it takes so many of them, they pile up. But this is Tell Me I'm Worthless by Alison Rumfitt. This is from the Nightfire imprint, new horror novel. And let's see if I can make out the very dark type on dark backgrounds. It's going to be tough, but I'll try. It says, 3 years ago, Alice spent one night in an abandoned house with her friends Ela and Hannah. Since then, Anna has lived a haunted existence, selling videos of herself for the money, going to parties she hates, drinking herself to sleep. Memories of that night torment Alice, but when Ela asks her to return to the house, she knows she must go. Together they must face the horrors that happened there, must pull themselves apart from the inside out, put their differences aside, and try to rescue Hannah, whom the house has chosen to make its own. It's so cutting, disruptive, and darkly funny. Tell Me I'm Worthless is a vital work of trans fiction that examines the devastating effects of trauma and how fascism makes us destroy ourselves and each other. So it's a very metaphorically rich horror novel, sounds like. Anyway, but yeah, sounds like it's going to be dark, 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 dark. I mean, right there in the title, right? So Tell Me I'm Worthless by Alison Rumfitt, and I think it's available now from Nightfire. And last, but absolutely no means least, this is the new novel by Annalee Newitt's The Terraformers, and it just so happens that that is going to be one of the reviews that you're getting this week. I'm doing 2 books by Annalee Newitt's this week on the channel, starting tomorrow, so stay tuned for those. But nice to have the finished copy in-house. It says, let's see, oh, here it is. This is an uplifting and illuminating exploration of the future, in which Newitt's masterfully grapples with questions of embodiment and personhood, exploring the power of coalition and the impossibility of utopia under capitalism. Destri's life is dedicated to terraforming Saskey. As part of the environmental rescue team, she cares for the planet and its burgeoning ecosystems, as her parents and their parents did before her. But the bright, clean future they're building comes under threat when Destry discovers a city full of people that shouldn't exist. hidden inside a massive volcano. As she uncovers more about their past, Destry begins to question the mission she has devoted her life to, and must make a choice that will reverberate through Sasky's future for generations to come. A science fiction epic for our times and a love letter for our future, the Terraformers will take you on a journey spanning thousands of years and exploring the triumphs, strife, and hope that find us whenever we make our home. Yeah, basically, like I said, I'm not going to give you too many details until the actual review, which you will have to wait for, but the premise is that you have this corporation that is kind of designing these bespoke planets to then, profit off the real estate. But then it questions, it goes into similar territory as say, H. Beam Piper's A Little Fuzzy, right? Well, suddenly it's like, oh, well, now we have intelligent life, though, can we commodify that or not, and what have you. So, the Terraformers, available now by Annalee Newitz. And finally, this week in the mailbag, we have a random Penguin title to round things out. Wow, okay, I'm so sorry. I meant 2 random Penguin titles. Actually, both of these are Angry Robot releases, and they're getting me the finished copies. That's very nice. I appreciate that very much. So the first one here is Burrowed. The author is Mary Bodder Cayley. Came out actually in January. This one I've really been looking forward to. It's gotten some pretty good buzz. It says, a world split in 2. One person holds the key to reuniting it. In the distant future, a genetic plague has separated humanity in 2. Subterraneans who live in underground burrows to protect their health, and strong surface-dwelling omniterraneans. Suzanne Cyan, a brilliant subtergirl with light blindness, is about to leave the safety of her burrow and earn a living. With her low life expectancy, however, her options are slim. That is, until she's offered the chance of a lifetime to study the population's broken genetic code, fix the divide, and reunite the world once again. But when a new virus turns fatal for the Omnits, Suzanne must find a cure, or humanity won't simply remain separate, it will become extinct. With enemies on all sides, Suzanne must hold on to the light at the end of the tunnel or risk the world falling into darkness. So yeah, that's Burrowed. Looking forward to adding this to my review queue very, very soon, so stay tuned for that. And also in that package, we have Wormhole. This is a collaboration between Keith Brook and Eric Brown. This actually came out towards the end of 2022. These 2 authors are a couple of British science fiction writers who haven't really, I think, gotten too much of a foothold here in the States. I mean, they've had books come out, but it's good to see them back. And, I want to see these authors, once again, getting some play, getting a chance over here to find new readers. So Wormhole, let's see what this one's all about. That's not a cold case, that's an archaeological dig. Detective Inspectors Gordon Kemp and Danny Bellini are pulled off their routine cold case investigations and ordered to investigate a murder from 2109. 80 years ago. Sebastian White, a leading expert in suspension technology, killed by a single stab wound. 3 suspects, his deputy, his business partner, and his wife. 3 perfect alibis. Simple as that? Not quite. 10 years before White's death, the first Earth-compatible planet was discovered orbiting the star Mu Arae. In 2110, a starship was sent on the 80-year journey to the planet, its crew held in stasis. A short way into the voyage, the ship blew up, killing the crew and ending all hope of a new world. Who killed White? What happened to the ship? Why reopen the case now? Like the sound of it. All right, Wormhole by Keith Brook and Eric Brown, now available from Angry Robot. And there we have it for the mailbag this week. You guys know the drill. Light up those comments. Let me know which of these looks most interesting and exciting to you, and which you would like to see me prioritize for review. Otherwise, if you enjoyed watching, of course, please hit that like button, share the video far and wide with all of your SFF reading friends, and above all, please subscribe if you have not done so. That's how the channel grows. You can also support the channel at my TeePublic store and at my Patreon, where recruits into Wink's Army occasionally might get little perks like early access to some of my videos, but mostly I use the Patreon money to pay Matt Olson, my brilliant and gifted channel artist who does all of my beautiful thumbnails for me. So my Patreons are very much helping these thumbnails to exist, and I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Thank you all so much. I want to thank all the rest of you guys for being the very best viewers in all of BookTube, and until I see all of you tomorrow, Stay safe and healthy, and happy reading.